Oh, good.
Hunter Walker joins us now, White House correspondent for Yahoo. Hunter, I want to start with the shakeup at the White House that they're talking about. It's our understanding Tillerson was there. Have you learned anything about the White House's plan to oust him?
I don't have any real fresh reporting on it, but one thing that I have heard is that Senator Cotton, who really has become a staunch ally of this administration, was actually considered for Secretary of Defense during the transition. So, I think this is a case of the president having a high-level figure in his administration who he's clashed with, and he's really shoring himself up with much closer allies. I mean, Director Pompeo has for some time been, one of the most ideologically aligned with the president, and I think that is quite similar of Senator Cotton, if he is indeed, the one being considered for this role.
It's interesting. A CIA veteran named Paul Pilar told a journalist that, this is an awful appointment. Senator Cotton's a highly ideological individual who's not suited to lead an agency, part of whose core mission is objective analysis. Do you think he's going to get a bit of blowback?
I think there's been this long impression that there are these sort of adults in the room, namely the generals, Mattis, McMaster, and Tillerson was seen as part of that, and so was Chief of Staff John Kelly. But it seems like, Kelly is reportedly the person who came up with this plan. So it's possible that the president could get public blowback for surrounding himself with these more ideological figures, but it seems like internally things are, he's getting much more like-minded folks lined up behind him.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it'll be a problem with the Senate confirmation? Because he does have to go through a confirmation, right?
I don't think we've seen any issues really for this administration with the confirmation hearings. I think also, typically when you have a fellow senator going through, someone like Cotton, there is that cordiality that the Senate is known for. But one thing to keep in mind is the political considerations here. I mean, Arkansas, the governor's a Republican. They could appoint a Republican to replace Cotton until 2018. I think the big question is, whether the White House would want to open up another Senate election, especially given, the tightening in the polls we're seeing in another safe southern state with Roy Moore.
I want to ask you across the pond about British Prime Minister Theresa May calling out the president in a retweet for those anti-Muslim videos. What's the group that the president retweeted, and how complicated is this for the U.S. relationship with one of our closest allies?
Yeah, this group is called Britain First. Americans might be familiar with the name because it is the phrase that this neo-Nazi shouted out before he killed a member of British Parliament. Her husband is one of the many, many figures across the pond who've rebuked the president for sharing this message. And the woman that he retweeted is the deputy leader of this very staunchly anti-Muslim political party. And she's currently facing charges over there of religious harassment for, chasing around and haranguing a woman who was wearing a hijab. So, members of parliament in England have said this group is akin to the American KKK, and it's really provoked the strongest rebuke we've seen of an American president from the British Prime Minister and the British ambassador to the U.S. that I think we've ever seen.
So is the White House argument that he's addressing national security a fair and legit point?
Well, Sarah Sanders was sort of cornered by reporters yesterday. There wasn't an official briefing since he went to Missouri. And she said he was trying to raise these issues of border security. But, this isn't the first time we've seen the president tweet someone associated with a hate group. I mean, there were two instances during the campaign when he tweeted this white genocide account that had explicitly neo-Nazi stuff on it. So, whatever point he was trying to make, there's these separate questions of the fact that this information was inaccurate and the source is just objectively reprehensible.
I want to ask you about the Senate tax plan. Senator John McCain has announced he's in support of it. How confident do you think the White House is on actually getting this passed by the end of the year?
Well, I think the White House can feel a lot better about this than any of the other major pieces of legislation we've seen them push. As I'm sure your viewers know, McCain was a big holdout on health care and on some of the other White House initiatives. Him coming over is a big deal. Another one of the sort of on-the-fence Republicans, Lisa Murkowski, is also expected to be a yes. So, there are about 6 Republicans who may be questionable in their support of this, and the White House can afford to lose 2 of them. So they are pretty close on this.
All right. Hunter Walker with Yahoo. Thank you for joining us, Hunter.